Well, it's John Black, Super Chemist. This is part of the fire department DEI. Oh, and this guy is Mike Pertz. Uh, he's on YouTube if you want to watch his, the full thing or whatever.
But this is something that has been going on for a very long time. In fact, I pulled up a bunch of different stuff, and there's a bunch of different players out there in the fire service space that have been pushing this trash onto the fire service for years. The IAFC, if you didn't know what that was, that's the International Association of Fire Chiefs, has an IAFC Diversity Executive Leadership Program. Here on FireRescue1.com, written by Chad Costa in November of 2024, DEI programs, identifying the most critical component and how to implement it. Does your department foster a culture of inclusion? On May 28th, 2024, Julian Velarde from, again, Fire Rescue One. Is your fire agency ready to make DEI a priority? Prioritizing DEI starts with mission alignment and leadership support. Also on Fire Rescue One from 2022, FDNY to make diversity push with 5 new laws. The department must implement a plan to hire more women and non-white firefighters and upgrade stations to accommodate women's privacy. October of 2022, the First Center, we'll talk about them here in a second, receives grant funding to study DEI and develop DEI Fire Toolkit. The Center for Firefighter Injury Research and Safety Trends will work with the Metro Chiefs on the project to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. The head of this group, first, Jennifer Taylor, was on the USFA podcast, talking about fire service diversity, equity, and inclusion, and why it's important. Breaking it down for you as to why it's important. Another headline, Metro Chiefs event spotlights DEI efforts. Metro Chiefs are taking members where they need to be, whether they want to or knew they could get there. What? Whether they want to or knew they could get there. The subhead doesn't even make any sense. But you get the point. You see the problem with this. As this is something that's been going on for years, and this is something that has been pushed on the fire service across the country for a long time. And it's not going to stop until people like you or me or other people say enough is enough. Let's start prioritizing merit. Let's go back to being a meritocracy. That doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. That doesn't mean every person you're going to come across is going to be nice, friendly, and all smiles. It's a work in progress. But openly prioritizing hiring people based on the color of their skin or whether they're a man or a woman, or God forbid, making a push to get more people into the fire service, even when they're not meeting the minimum standards, is a problem. And that's something that needs to stop.
This is Zamala, Ekpunobi. I don't know how to pronounce it, but everyone knows Zamala. A Los Angeles fire chief really said this, if you want to watch the whole video.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or, you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
And then it closes out with only about 5% of.
Keep in mind, this is a commercial. They did. The DEI people did this commercial.
Working firefighters are women. You just made a great case for there being more. What did I just hear? Because this video is only like 25 seconds, I'm going to play it again because I have to make sure that we all get this in our brains, that we all get to experience this together just one more time.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or, you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
Oh my gosh, so much to go over here. First of all, when in your lives have you ever been in an emergency of any kind where you need help and support from the people around you and hopefully professionals around you and thought, I hope they look like me? You know, if I'm calling EMS right now, I hope the person who shows up is a biracial female who's the same age as me, who can understand my marginalized experience. No.
And the fire departments and the firefighters in California. And the interest was that there were too many white men who were firefighters, and we need to have a program in California to make sure we don't have enough white men as firefighters. So we have EDI, we have and yet I'm wondering now, if your house is burning down, how much do you care what color the firefighters are?
You can respond and then listen, I am so tired. You know what? There was an article that just came out that said that actually the most educated demographic in this country right now is black women. So let me be clear.
Let me be crystal clear in giving a dumb argument to a statement that you just made that is totally valid about what we're experiencing right now. Let me throw out this random survey study that says that black women are the most educated in this country.
Because I know that some of the right has been sharing these photos of the fact that I believe that the fire chief may be a woman or something. That has nothing to do with it. We are looking at qualifications. What diversity, equity, and inclusion has always been about is saying, you know what? Open this up. Don't just look at the white men. Open it up and recognize that other people can be qualified. And the fact that we want to, at a time when people are dying, decide that a country of immigrants is failing or people are dying because the same very people that built this country, because the last time I checked, y'all didn't say that anything was wrong with the White House, and I can promise
FD fire chief herself,
at a time when people are dying, decide that a country of immigrants is failing or people are dying because the same very people that built this country, because the last time I checked, y'all didn't say that anything was wrong with the White House, and I can promise you it was my ancestors that built the White House. So listen, if we have been good enough to build this country, we are good enough to serve and die overseas, we are good enough to serve in other ways. And the fact that people actually...
Dude, his face is me at this point, just sitting there, just duking it out. He's about to give a damn gym. And we've heard it from the LAFD fire chief herself. We've clearly heard it from this assistant fire chief in the video that we just watched. It's important to see people who look like me. And when Scott Jennings says that comes at the burden of our entire city, all the residents in it, and of white men who also want these jobs, he is 100% correct. You don't believe me? Look up the stories of people who have tried to make it into the LAFD and have been rejected, and they can track it as being because of their race and because of the implementation of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Okay? But let's see if she has anything else to say that makes even an ounce of sense, because so far we've heard nothing.
Decide that they want to engage in public service, whether it's sitting in Congress or whether it's serving on the fire department or the police department, should not be an issue. The fact is, stop trying to act as if only white men are the ones that are capable. Because right now, you're sitting at a table with 3 very capable black women.
Oh my gosh. You could not get a worse representative for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Her very arguments are to me so telling that diversity, equity, inclusion is not the way to move forward. She has not made a single valid argument this entire time, and she speaks to her own capability as a black woman and the capability of the 2 other black women at the table around her, when her capabilities were never being called into question. But she's made it about herself, as so often these woke leftists do, because at the end of the day, it is about them and their identity. It is not about anybody else. And when Scott Jennings says this brings down white men, it brings down the residents who are experiencing these tragedies, he's 100% right. It's just an uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to hear at this moment. And it's not to label any group of a specific identity or racial characteristic as being incapable. It is just to say that that identity characteristics and that racial group should not be brought in as a metric for judgment when we are trying to figure out your capabilities. And if the LAFD fire chiefs and assistant fire chiefs happen to be white women lesbians or biracial lesbians and they're there because of their capabilities, by all means, I will cheer them on. But when you lead the conversation with saying I'm a woman and a lesbian, or I'm a biracial woman, lesbian, we've lost the plot a little bit. Lead with your capabilities then. And in the case...
Keep in mind, none of these women, even the ones that she's going to say, oh, they're fire chiefs and they have 20 years experience. No, they have never, ever once passed the test, the physical test that you need to pass to be qualified. Because the only people that take that test are the men, okay? So no female is whatever. And apparently they're lowering the bar for the blacks and the browns and everybody else too, except for the whites, I guess. So no one is qualified. Unless you take the test that the white men have to take. If you didn't take that test, even if you can pass it, it doesn't matter. You're not qualified. Because you're only qualified if you actually can do it and pass the test. Okay? That's the only way you're qualified. You can't just have the abilities and not take the test. Okay? You're still not qualified. The test is what makes you qualified. And if you never take it because you're a woman or because you have these low bar things for the blacks or browns or whatever, you ain't qualified either. And you're a traitor to this country. So you're going to get little children killed because of your incompetence.
Case of the fire chief that's getting a lot of flack online for having pushed diversity, equity, inclusion within the LAFD. I think she has like 22 years experience as both an engineer and a firefighter. Why don't you lead with that? And why are you more subservient to your own agenda and your own ideology than you are to your job and to helping the people of Los Angeles? Riddle me that.
I'm not. I'm just simply saying that as a matter of public policy in California, the main interest in the fire department lately has been in DEI programming and budget cuts, and now we have
Hold on, are we really, but Scott, are we really blaming the fire department? The people in the LA fire department?
No, I'm blaming the Democrats who run the state.
But the fire department right now, they are dealing with a historic fire, okay?
And they have terrible leadership.
That is caused by climate.
Okay, that's a lie. The reason why they turned off the water, they diverted the water and put it into the ocean because they didn't want to destroy some fish, a couple fish that are literally millions of them across the entire globe, but they wanted to save these fish. And so they don't have any water. And then they're forest because they don't want to maintain them because you can't touch them, can't do that because of climate. Now, no, they don't rake the forest. And no, they don't just rake at the entire forest. There are certain areas that are more prone to be caught on fire. And yes, they do rake those areas. They take out any of the trees that fall down and they're drying out like kindling. They do a lot of things to the forest that we don't understand that they do because it ain't our job. But yeah, they stopped all that in the name of climate and to save this fish that's literally in thousands of other places on the planet. And diverted the water, so now they have no water to fight the fire. But they put a lot of money and time and effort into DEI. That's why they didn't fix any of this. They don't care about any of this stuff because they don't care about that stuff. The water, no water. All they care about is DEI. That's the only thing they care about. Okay, nothing else. Nothing else matters. Your little girl that's 5 years old in a fire, dying or being raped, cop coming and it's a female that didn't pass any test, can't help anyone. They don't care.